Jerry and his wife Megan and daughter Laura were driving to a new restaurant that opened up in their town. The restaurant was right in the centre of town, and the drive was about 20 minutes. They were so happy on the drive there because they rarely had the chance to go out together as a family, as Jerry's work hours were so long. When they arrived at the restaurant, they admired the outside. They had a great appetite worked up. They spoke until the waiter came, then put in their orders. When the food came, they loved it so much. After the meal, they were so full up, they hardly were able to have the dessert, but they still managed to eat ice cream and devour it. Laura went to wash her hands, and on her way she admired a beautiful little door on the hall wall. She remembered the name from her friend. It was a fairy door. She thought she saw something move behind the little window on the door. There was just a tiny little hole letting her look in. She put her eyes up to it and looked in the background. She took out her phone, shining the flashlight, illuminating a room where she saw people sitting down with a cloth over their mouth. She was too frightened to wash her hands and ran back and told her mom and dad. They thought she was just imagining things, but she kept telling them what she saw and to call the police. But they just ignored her, because she was that type of girl that had a good imagination and a lot of ghost stories. So her mom and dad thought that this was just another one of them. Jerry was on his way to the bathroom when he had decided to take a look, just in case. He was wondering why he did, but when he did, he couldn't believe his eyes. Just as he looked, he could see something cover the hole, but he knew what he saw before it was covered. Exactly what Laura had described. Jerry rang the police, and it was later discovered that the meat in the restaurant were actually humans, and the owners were cannibals that enjoyed knowing their customers were eating humans without realizing it. The whole town were shocked when they realized that the Bane clan were actually killing humans and cooking them to serve the customers. It was right under their eyes, even in the name, as Bane clan was an anagram for the cannibal. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Pat was really happy that he got to buy a beautiful new house for half the money that you could get anywhere else. It was just the type of house he loved and in an area that he dreamed of. Prior to finding the property, he spent hours on end looking at property sites and couldn't find anything that suited his budget. Pat used to work very hard in a factory for long hours, but for some reason he seemed to have hardly no money left when it came to paying bills. When he used to be working long hours, the only thing that kept him going was holding on to the hope of finding a property that suited him. He had a feeling one would come along. Then one day, while he was reading the newspaper, that opportunity arose. The next day he was speaking to the real estate agent outside the house. Everything he was telling him sounded perfect. Pat was feeling so lucky, he felt like he was dreaming. He couldn't believe it. There was actually even a swimming pool in the back of the house. He used to love on his downtime to relax by the pool. He hoped he would meet a nice lady and settle down with her and start a family. When Pat was in work these days, he felt a lot happier and much more energetic. He had finally secured the dream of having a property of his own, and one of his dreams. His workmates noticed the change in him. They even said it to him. They thought he met a new woman and asked him was that the reason. When he told them about his new property, they couldn't believe it. He could even sense jealousy from some of his workmates. One night, Pat was watching TV, and suddenly he smelt smoke. He went into the kitchen to see a huge fire. He quickly got his tablet that was nearby to document the damage to claim fire insurance. He hoped he wouldn't lose his dream house over some stupid fire. Suddenly a page from a newspaper fell in front of him. He picked it up and saw what looked like his house staring right up at him. He read, "Dream house goes on sale after 50 years after a man claims the property is too haunted and dangerous to people live in. 3 people perished in a fire 4 times over the previous 10 years. The owner passed away this month, and with a lot of legal battles, the property finally goes on sale for a fraction of the price it is worth." Pat stopped reading, realizing he was in the middle of a fire. He got a start when he saw 3 people standing in front of him. They didn't seem to be one bit worried about the fire. He screamed at them to get their phone and call the firefighters. One man said to him, "Don't worry about the fire. You had to see that article to break you being dishonest with yourself. We were the same until we got a newspaper piece flying into our face. You are already dead, just like us, but now that you realize it, you can see us." Pat froze in the spot, realizing there was fire all around him, but he felt no pain. Then he looked over, behind the people, and saw himself lying dead on the ground, almost burnt to a crisp. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Jim was a drug dealer who sold all sorts of different drugs. He sold everything from crack cocaine to heroin to Molly. He had different addicts queuing up for him every day. Jim used to have different couriers carry the drugs for him, and sometimes he used to have kids carry the drugs because he would know if they were caught, they would be underage and not get arrested. He used the ones he knew that their parents didn't worry if they were out late, etc. One day Jim sold heroin to a known witch's son. Sheila was horrified when she walked in on her son Jasper after overdosing with a needle sticking out of his arm. She instantly cast a spell on Jim the drug dealer. The next day, after each one of Jim's customers got high, Jim felt the effect of the drug they took. It went on for a few different customers of his. He kept getting higher and higher, until eventually he died of an overdose. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.